Greetings and salutations, comic book conversationalists. This is Comic Book Hangover. My name is Scott, and we have a pretty nice haul for you this week. It's a mixture of a couple of things. There's new books that I picked up. There's a Cody Con haul and a couple of books that I picked up from a local garage sale. So we're just going to jump into it, starting with the new books that I picked up this week, starting with a few Facsimile Editions. We have Justice League of America #1, Facsimile Edition. Again, another one of these books I'm probably not going to read, but I like to have these iconic covers. And I don't think I did this last time, but just a refresher, just a reminder when it comes to these Facsimile Editions, if you see this on eBay or, somebody's selling it on Facebook Marketplace, for example, they've got a pretty good price on it. Still kind of high, but a pretty good price. You're going to want to check a couple of things to make sure that you're actually getting an original and not a reprint. With the DC ones, they tend to keep the front covers exactly the same. So what you're going to want to do is see if you can look at the back. It's in the back of the DC facsimiles. They've always got the DC logo and the UPC on the back there. So that you also want to check out. One indicator, actually, now that I'm looking at it, and it just completely slipped my mind, one indicator that if you're looking at the front of the book, especially with a book as old as this one, you can look at that price point there, $3.99. There's no way this book was $3.99 back in those days. But I grabbed the Justice League of America #1 Facsimile Edition, and then I grabbed my first not my first, it's actually the first non-Marvel, non-DC facsimile book. Also my first Archie Comics facsimile book, and this is Betty and Me #16. This is that infamous cover where she's saying, "Archie, did you have any trouble rescuing me?" And he says, "I sure did, Betty. I had to beat off 3 other guys," which back in those days did not have the same connotations that it has today, but that is the main reason why they reprinted this book. Now, this facsimile, they go all the way with this cover. I mean, it's even got the original 12-cent cover price on the cover. So if you see this one, you're going to want to take a look at the back, because on the back, you've got the $3.99 actual cover price and the UPC. So there you go. This one I might actually read. It's been forever since I've read an Archie comic, so I may actually read this one. The other new books I picked up, and also heading into these books here, I'm going to be giving a few opinions, shall we say, on some of these books. There's a few that I really, one in particular that I got a lot to say about. Well, I have a lot to say about it, but I'm going to try to keep it to a minimum, all right? Excuse me. All right, first up, we've got Avengers #17. This one will surprise some people that I picked this up, but I had to round up the dollar amount of the books that I was picking up. So this one filled in that gap perfectly. This is supposedly the issue where Storm joins the Avengers. They made a big deal about it in a solicitation and in all the media that came out about it, that Storm is joining the Avengers. When in fact, when you read the book, she doesn't actually say she's going to join the Avengers. She eventually does. I'm sure she does. I don't really follow this series at all, but Sam Wilson asks her to join, and then something comes up and they have to leave. So she doesn't actually say she's going to join the Avengers. We know she does, but to say that this is the issue where she joins the Avengers, this is the issue where she's given that invitation to join the Avengers. Something I'm not sure they ever gave to the Silver Surfer of all people, but Storm got it. And, that aside, even if that wasn't the case, this is still a sweet Storm cover. Love some Storm covers. Storm covers and Doom covers are some of my favorites. Excuse me. Next up, now I tried the other one, and if you watched my last video, I tried the other EC book, Epiphanies from the Abyss, or whatever the hell it was called, and I absolutely hated that book. One of the worst attempts at an EC comic I'd ever seen, and that's taking into consideration what Paper Cuts did to Tales from the Crypt a long time ago. So they basically swing and a massive miss on EC horror. Those guys had no idea what they're doing with that. This Cruel Universe, another 5-issue miniseries from Oni Press, their second attempt at an EC book. This is their attempt at EC science fiction. I will say this. Sweet cover. This is cover B. I liked cover B more than cover A. Cover A had the dude fighting the Tyrannosaurus Rex or something on there. Great cover, and I will say it was not as bad as the horror book. Not great. They still have no idea what they're doing. They still have no idea how to write an EC story in the EC vein, in the EC tradition. They still don't know how they're doing or what they're doing. The art, some of the art is great. Some of the art does leave a lot to be desired as far as reaching that level of what an EC comic and the presentation of their stories was. Now, while this was not as bad as Epiphanies, like I said, it's still not great. The twist endings, there were some better twists in this one, but they still, you could see them a mile away. I mean, here's what I think. I don't want to. I feel really bad about trashing the other one. I don't like to trash comic books. I always like to come up with, if I have something negative to say about it or less than positive, I want to have something equally positive to say. And there's really not a whole lot positive I can say about this. But I will say this. The science fiction book is not as bad as the horror book. They still have a long way to go. What I would suggest is the people who are going to be working on these books really need to go back and read Tales from the Crypt, Vault of Horror, Haunt of Fear, even shock suspense stories, crime suspense stories, the weird science and the weird fantasy books. They need to go back and read those stories to see how those guys, the original EC crew, did the stories and give them a sort of a template as to how to do these books. Now, those books they're widely available. Dark Horse is reprinting them as EC archives. They've got plenty of them out. I think they're nearing the end of some of them. I think Vault of Horror Volume 5 is going to be the last one for that one. But they really need to go do their homework, study up, figure out what EC is actually all about, and fix this. Because neither one of these were great. I mean, I was hesitant about EC coming back, and the more I read about the horror book, the less I was interested in. And if you watched my last video, you know how I thought about that. It was not to put too fine a point on it, but it was pure garbage. I mean, it was one of the one of the worst books that I picked up in a long time. And up until that point, that Doom one shot was the worst book that I picked up this year. Now it's Epiphanies from the Abyss, and then I'd say Doom, and then Cruel Universe. Well, I might come up with a worst of 2024 list at the end of the year. All right, next one. Let's move on. The longest title that I got this week is Godzilla, Here There Be Dragons 2, Son of Giants, #2. And wow, we have former presidents that are involved in this whole sort of secret society that uses the kaiju to sort of mold world events. I mean, this is really kind of taking the whole kaiju existence in this world to a whole new level, where there's a society that uses them to, like I said, mold the direction of humanity. So it's really interesting. And now we got this one. I'm not going to say who it was, but we do have a former president, not a current one, but way back in the day, someone who should be long since dead, is involved in this now. So also, I mean, the only thing about this one that kind of confused me was he fights Hedorah in this one, and that's a sludge monster. That's a monster that was created through toxic waste. In his movie, that was his origin. He was created through toxic waste, through pollution, through all these contaminants in the environment, and it created this sludge monster with acidic properties. He exists in this story long before there was any kind of industrialized society. So really, he shouldn't exist back in those days. But it still made for a great story, great art, a lot of fun. Very, very much enjoyed it. On the flip side of that, we had, and I think this came out last week, Godzilla Rivals versus Manda. That is a cool cover. Look at that cover. Excuse me. That's a great cover of Godzilla fighting Manda. Now, the cover is the best part of this book. You get beyond the cover, and you know what? I'm not even going to take the time to do the pictures and have the whole over here. It's not worth it. I'm just going to show you. You open this up. This is the art style that they decided to use for this Godzilla book. This nonsense here. And it's like that through the whole thing. You got even a shark says, "I'm hungry." I don't know what that's all about. But this is garbage. And that's one thing that's wrong with it. So you got the cover, okay? And then I didn't even read this whole story because I got here. I think I read this part, read this, waiting for Godzilla to show up. All right, because it is a Godzilla book. He's on the cover. So keep going. Okay, so there's that. No Godzilla yet. And there's that. And then finally we get Godzilla. And he's sort of an amalgamation of good Godzilla and the Hanna-Barbera version that, anybody in the right mind wouldn't like. So Godzilla shows up more than halfway through the story and doesn't really have a whole lot to do with it from what I figure. I don't know. Like I said, I didn't read it. The art completely turned me off to it. And I did a little post on my excuse me, on my Facebook page that said, "Dear IDW, don't ever do this again. Don't do that." Okay. Now I understand a book like the Godzilla Skate or Die that does have a different art style, but it goes with the story. That's the whole thing, and that's what. And I'm not buying it because I don't really care for the story or the art for it. I'll eventually pick it up when they do the Godzilla library. Because I'm picking up the Godzilla libraries. I might do a review on those soon, but not good, not good. So I had 2 books in my stack that just were not that good. And the last new book that I picked up this week, Scarlet #3, and started off okay. Like I said, there's a lot of people who said that this was the first miss of the Energon universe. And I said, it's not really a miss. It's not that bad of a book. And I read it again. And I was like, I can kind of see where people are not really digging this. 3rd issue, there's stuff in here that doesn't make any sense. There's the I don't know if it's the way the panels are drawn or what, but there's things in here where things are being said and done. It's like, okay, so how do we get from here to here? So it's not really connecting very well. And her character is really just, she's a great character, and I had really high hopes for it. But the more this series goes on, and I'm glad it's only 5 issues, but the longer this story goes on, the worse it seems to be getting. I'm going to finish it out. It's 2 more issues to go. I'm realizing Kelly Thompson wrote it. She's not one of my favorite writers. She's not one of my favorite people in the comics industry for a number of reasons. But I had hopes for it. It's not. It's kind of letting me down. But it's fine. It's introducing the character. Hopefully, it'll come around the last 2 issues, and we'll be able to end it on a bang. That's what I'm hoping for. I got hopes. I have hopes. All right, so those are all the new books that I picked up. Here's the CodyCon books that I picked up. There's only, 4 or 5 of these things? Excuse me. First up, this was a customer appreciation book, so I only paid like $5 for it. Marvel Comics Presents number 45, which is a series that I am trying to get all of, is Marvel Comics Presents. We got issue 45. Now, this one was signed in 2017. Unfortunately, there's a little note on the back, just so you don't think that I have all this stuff memorized. There is a cheat sheet on the back that I didn't realize was there. This book was signed at the Motor City Comic Con in May 2017. Wow, it seems so long ago. By Jose Delbo. So there's Jose's signature right on Logan's leg right there. So there is Marvel Comics Presents number 45. I got this one just for shits and giggles, basically. This was a preview for the Marvel, the DC versus Marvel, Marvel versus DC crossover. And it was just a preview, had a few pages from the first issue. You see, Joker and Spider-Man going at it. You see the universe is kind of, the whole wall's coming down and everything. There's even trading cards in here that are still in here, still in the package. So I picked that up. This is a classic book here. I grabbed because I actually did not have this cover yet. This is the iconic, legendary Spider-Man #1, the adjectiveless Spider-Man #1. This is the regular cover. I only have the platinum cover or the silver foil, silver ink cover, or whatever the heck what it's called. That's the only cover that I had. I think I've got one more. I'm not sure. I got to go back and check. But this one I never had. So now I finally have this cover. And in the category of books that you get, because it's a classic, even says so on the cover, and it's got a sweet cover. Even, again, everyone knows I'm not a big X-Men fan, but a sweet cover is a sweet cover, especially when you have a classic cover, like classic X-Men #1, some great Art Adams work there. Another book that I've never had. I've always liked this cover, even not being an X-Men fan. Like I said, I will recognize a great cover when I see it, and this is a great cover. Classic X-Men #1. And this last one from CodyCon was a no-brainer because I'm a Ghost Rider fan. Marvel Milestones. I don't think these get numbers, but this reprints Marvel Spotlight Number 5, Daredevil 81 and X-Men 47. This is probably, well, this is currently the closest to a facsimile reprint of Marvel Spotlight number 5 that I'm going to get. Marvel, for whatever reason, has decided not to, I don't know, maybe they decided they don't want to. I don't know. They had an opportunity, a year or two ago when the anniversary of Ghost Rider was around. They could have done it then, but they didn't. But there we go. I finally got a reprint of that. Those are my CodyCon books. And these last 3 books are ones that I picked up at a local yard sale. It's only like $6 for these, so $2 each. I like them. First one, I picked up Marvel Age 1992 preview. This one, if you know me, you know why I picked this up. There we go. There's the full cover. We've got some Ghost Rider. We've got Morbius. We've got the Night Stalkers and Death's Head 2. Along with some X-Men and Silver Sable and Punisher. I believe that's Silver Sable on there. Yeah. So Marvel Age 1992 preview. Gotta have that. I love that. This one I picked up just because I loved this cover. I've seen it before. I've never had it in my collection. I finally got it now. Batman number 451. One of my favorite Joker covers. Absolutely love this book. I'm not a key. I don't think it's a key. Nothing really significant about it, but sometimes you just got to pick up a book because it has a sweet cover. And that's what this one has. And the last one, I actually have this one. I didn't think I did, but I do. I actually think this is in much better condition than the one that I currently have in my collection. I'll have to find out when I get my books out of storage. But we have X-Men Annual from 1988, numbered at Annual number 12. It's part of the Evolutionary War. I think this is the first appearance of the X-Babies. Always like this cover. So I have this already, but I think my copy is a little beat up. So this will be a step up from that. So there we go. And of course, the Amazing Spider-Man number 300 Facsimile Edition cover. Poster on the wall behind me. And that is it. Really long video. This is one of the longest videos I've done in a while. But there you go. Those are all the books I picked up and had grabbed this past week. I do have a Marvelous box coming. Hopefully it'll be here before I start up at school again. We do have school starting up in this area on August 21st. I'm looking forward to doing it. My son is in 4th grade. He is very much looking forward to going back to school, and I'm looking forward to going back to work. Finally we did get to meet the majority of our class this year. We had kinder camp. It was great. I think we got a great group of kids. They all seemed really eager, really excited. We didn't have any, I had maybe one kid that was crying at the beginning, which we expected. But as the day progressed, they did fine. And the next day they came back and he was fine. So I don't think we're gonna have any problems with that. I'm really eager and excited to see what this class is able to accomplish in Young Fives this year. But that said, I hope everybody is having a great ending to their summer. Summer vacations, all that fun stuff. I know we're going to be gearing up for the fall. Can't wait. And we will see everybody soon, hopefully with a Marvelous box. And if not, we'll see you next week with another weekly haul video. Have a great weekend, everybody. Bye.